Welcome, new and returning listeners, to the Black Business Roundtable. I am your host, Doug Blacksher, broadcasting to you live from the City of Diversity. After a almost 6-month reprieve, I have joining me today my friend, the legal guru for not only Oakland, Alameda County, but the state of California, Allyssa Victory. What's going on, my sister?
Happy New Year, brother. So great to see you. Great to be back on the show. I can't believe we're already halfway through January, but the year is starting off fast with a lot going on. But I'm great. I'm just happy to be here.
Well, I have to tell you this. I had not planned to come back this soon, but when I was watching the Iowa caucus
Hmm.
and I saw Trump with a astounding win, all I could think about, we can't do another 4 years with Trump. In addition to that, Oakland is being ravished with crime, grit. Even though we elected a new administration, I've had friends come in here from out of town and call me from Hagenberg after getting a bite to eat, stopping to get gas, and they've been robbed. Some just as they went into the store and came back out, and others by gunpoint. We in Oakland have a lot of pride. And the worst thing that I can say to you, Allyssa Victory, because you are an Oaklander just as I am 61 years old, and I have never seen it look this bad. We have young people who are feeling that they're being left out. We have police officer that was shot and killed recently, and I'm trying to be gentle on some of the new administration that have been elected, but our city officials have got to get it together. Have got to get it together. I'm gonna give Carol Fife, the Honorable Carol Fife, a big shout out. Kevin Jenkins, who I supported, a big shout out. But I'm concerned. I'm truly concerned of the direction of this city. Now, audience, I'm going to turn it over to Allyssa because I have so much anger, and I don't want to give you a preview of what I'm going to be doing this year. If you thought I was bad the last 2.5 years, uh, elected officials in the city of Oakland, those of you who lied to get in office, those of you who have neglected your constituent, you are past your year honeymoon. And it's time we get some action here in Oakland. It's time that we get this crime under control. It's time to get a new police chief. It's time. Allyssa Victory, you've seen me and you've known me since 2017.
Yes.
This other guy, he's beast mode. This other guy is Marshawn Lynch. I will run you over to get into the end zone. I'm Muhammad Ali. I'll be dancing, jabbing, and I'm Mike Tyson. I'll hit you in the side so hard, you'll lose your mouthpiece. So get it together, Oakland elected officials, and get it together yesterday. We are going to bombard not only Oakland and Alameda County, but the state of California with some names of people who aren't going to get it together. And because this is a East Coast, West Coast, border to border, and in several country platform, I'm going to have people from the West Coast or from the East Coast calling and telling us who's doing what and who ain't doing what. I'm tired of going to city council meetings, and I haven't been in a while because I've had some physical issues. I've been out uh, trying to get my body healthy. I've been going to a chiropractor, but I can sit here and talk. I can sit here and do research. And Allyssa Victory, I want to compliment you for enhancing this show with the knowledge that our audience needs to make informed decisions. And especially since we have an election coming up, especially because we have an election coming up. We have nonprofit groups going out there on hitting the ground floor, getting people to register. They're trying to do a Allyssa Victory.
Like, try.
Wait a minute, Allyssa. You do it like no other, girl. And I was so impressed on the last election. And I'm hoping that you run again for something, because I'll say this as I close out and pass the baton over to you. It's time that these officials get it together here in Oakland, California. Allyssa, take it over, please.
Well, thank you for that intro. Thank you for grounding just some of the issues and the sentiments that I'm feeling, that you're feeling, that a lot of longtime and lifetime Oaklanders are feeling about our city, about its leadership, about kind of the fallout from the 2022 cycle that did see new people come in to lead, and sometimes we're still waiting on them. But I'm going to talk a little bit about what to expect for our upcoming March elections, locally and statewide, how to vote, and wanted to touch on some of the things that you prefaced around some of just the blight, the crime, and the feelings that we have here in Oakland. So you mentioned first the Iowa caucus. There's going to be a lot of publicity and media talking about our presidential elections that will be on the March ballot, and then the general election will also include the top candidates for each political party on the November ballot. But the presidential elections are not what concerns me the most. It is local elections, local politics, things that everyday residents, people who aren't as engaged in politics, have more power and voice in deciding and holding people accountable. It's hard for me to go to DC and talk to the president, right? But I can talk to my city council folks. I can talk to my mayor. I can talk to different people a lot more easier that are in my city or my region. You will see some federal seats on your ballot, including Congress, for certain districts, including the one that Oakland includes, the 12th district. You'll also see some seats for U.S. Senate. California is going to elect a new senator, so everyone in our state will see the Senate elections on their ballot in March. If no candidate gets more than 50%, then we're going to see the top two go to head in November. There's also some other state seats like state Senate. Depending on what district you live in, assembly districts may have contested elections. Those are all important seats that set policy for the federal level. The state senators, assembly members also set state policy and law that absolutely affect you and me. I want to talk again more about the local races, though. Some of the biggest ones that we're going to see on the ballot in Alameda County and in other counties throughout the state is the Board of Supervisors. If y'all don't know, there's 58 counties across the state of California. Each county is governed by 5 people, 5 members. They control our county governments. Counties are larger than cities. They usually encompass multiple cities. I think San Francisco is our only one that's both a city and a county. But the county supervisors, by state law, have control over really important areas of our everyday life, including health and safety. They provide public hospitals, psychiatric help, ambulance and emergency response services. They're also responsible for things like public safety. They control our county jails, our county sheriff, and oversee those criminal justice actors at the county level. They also have a lot of control over housing, especially housing dollars that may be given out by the state. They're often distributed to the county level governments to do their jobs of housing. We have a significant crisis of homelessness, of people being displaced, being evicted, being housing insecure here in the city of Oakland and the county of Alameda. The supervisors have a lot of control, a lot of power to decide where and how we're spending their county money as well as state money that is designated for those types of public services and that type of direct assistance to people. The county supervisors are elected for 4-year terms, and sadly, there's a lot of times that they run unopposed, meaning there's only one person in the race. If there's only one person in the ballot, it's pretty much guaranteed that they're going to win. So some of these races only have one person running, maybe two. There is a lot of people who are running in District 5 of Alameda County. That's going to be on your March ballot. And that covers West Oakland, Albany, Emeryville, and a few other cities. They again encompass those entire regions, larger than your city level government. They have more control, more people that they serve than your city council, than your city administrator, than your mayors. There's also some residents who don't even have a city level government. They're called unincorporated communities. And their first level of government is the county itself, are the supervisors. So again, 5 people run the entire county in every county across California. So I really want people to pay attention to the Board of Supervisor races that are on your ballot, to look at elections where there's more than one candidate running and do your research so you know what people stand on, especially in areas like public health, crime and public safety, and housing. Another seat that's important that's going to be at the county level are county judges. All right, so again, we're talking about public safety, you're talking about crime, talking about justice. Well, the courts of justice, the halls of justice are all staffed by judges, right? The judges take on cases, criminal and civil. They decide cases. They have a lot of power. They're controlled and regulated by state judicial council and by other laws, but they're elected at the county level. And they're the first level of courts that most people enter before their case goes through appeals or other processes. And so they have a lot of power to decide in the first instance, to be the first ones to look at a legal issue, the first ones to decide on a legal issue. There are county judges who are on your ballot. A lot of people don't know what makes a good judge. They're not sure what a judge does. If you've ever been in a courtroom, the judge is the one in the rope who is making all the decisions and has all the control. A good judge is someone who's actually able to see multiple perspectives, who's not going to come to conclusions based on biases. There also needs to be a lot more diversification of our judges across California. There needs to be more Black judges, more women judges, more judges who've come from poverty and low-income areas, judges who have backgrounds working with people who've been through the legal system, who've had to do it without a lawyer, who've been on the other side of justice, who've been locked up, because they need to understand all sides and perspectives and not just be one-sided. To become a judge, you have to have been a lawyer for at least 10 years. So that already excludes a lot of people from even being able to run for this seat. It already bakes in some of the privilege where not a lot of lawyers are very diverse. I would know because I am a licensed attorney myself. And Black folks nationally are around 3% of the attorneys in our entire country. So we have very low representation in the legal field altogether, but we are the folks that are bringing cases around our businesses, around licensing, around criminal justice, around housing and evictions. So if we need to be served by the courts, which are public institutions and publicly funded, we need to have people in seats of power like judges that are making decisions that, again, are informed, that understand where these clients, where people seeking justice are coming from, and that have a stronger sense of public justice. So look for Superior Court judges. Those are county level judges on your ballots. Another seats, there's going to be a lot of ones that are across special districts. Those may include BART. If you live in the Bay Area, it stands for Bay Area Rapid Transit. It's our subway system. A lot of people, including myself, relied on BART to get to work, to get to school, to run their errands or go to their business. And so BART is a public service that's accessible and open to anyone, even though they charge. There's a few times they have free days. We should free our transit, but BART is an essential service that connects our Bay Area, connects people, again, to their jobs, to their schools, to other obligations. So BART is governed by a board of directors. Those directors are elected. They're going to be on your ballot. So look at their platforms, look at their experience. Do they ride transit? Do they know what it's like to depend on transit as their only means of transportation? Do they understand some of the issues around safety, around accessibility, of getting to and from stations, of having trains run on time so that you're on time to class or to work? So, really vet these folks and make sure you are voting as an informed voter. Some of the others include our county boards of education. They're not school boards, which are mostly at the city level, but they run county-wide education services and programs, things that might serve even K through 12 or pre-K students. Again, education has been in crisis in Oakland for a while, so the county level is above the city of Oakland and can add resources and definitely influence what is going on with our public education at the more local level. There's also going to be special things like water board that control some of our water and our flood control, our environmental work. And there's also going to be a special election for the city of Oakland to elect a new city auditor. So our city auditor is an elected position under our charter. They audit, right? So they've done audits of our police department. They've done audits of specific funding that we've gotten from the state. They help us understand how our money, our public money, is really being spent. They recommend better ways to spend it or to have transparency to the public. If we're in financial crisis, they help provide recommendations and assess, again, the financial health of our city. Our city auditor resigned in the middle of last year, so we've had a temporary interim. And so there's a special election that will be on the March ballot for all Oakland to elect a new city auditor position who will fill out the rest of the term, and then there'll be a regular election for that position. There's two more types of elections I want to mention, which are central committee. So all the political parties have central committees that run their local county-wide parties. As an example, I'm elected to our state Democratic Party as a delegate. We have a county, an Alameda County Democratic Party, and there's Democratic parties in every county. And the central committee is the body that controls the county party. So we're not talking about Biden. We're not talking about candidates being endorsed by the party. The people who are on central committee decide who those endorsements go to. They decide what candidates to fund. They decide what policies to support, what legislation to support or to oppose, and have a lot of influence on voter education and outreach and democracy at a very local level. Central committees are not limited to the Democrats. There's Republican Central Committee. There's Green Party. Those will be on your ballot, and you'll get to vote for whichever party you're registered with. If you're no party preference or have no party at all, or some of the other third parties, these won't be on your ballot. So you do have to be registered with a specific political party if you want to vote to control who is going to be on that county-wide party that gets to control the county party. I also want to mention that I am supporting the People-Powered Progressives, the only countywide slate for Alameda County. They are clearly progressive on housing justice, racial justice, as well as, again, economics, supporting our local businesses, ending our militarism abroad, and ensuring that we're actually funding and investing in people that live here in our county that need our help and our dollars right here. And so please check out peoplepoweredprogressives.com to learn more about the slate that I'm supporting, that I've been working with, Democrats that have shown leadership across our entire state. I see a question in the chat is, what are the term limits for these local and county level positions? The positions, all the ones that I mentioned, city auditor, the county supervisors, the central committee, their term is 4 years. 4 years. So we elect them every 4 years. If you're seeing them on your ballot this coming March, that means they were last on the ballot in 2020. The last thing I'll mention that you should expect to see on your local elections ballot are ballot measures. So Not everything is just about candidates and people running for power, but ballot measures. They may include tax measures. Be very careful of those. It's usually raising your taxes. They could be bond measures that allow our government to borrow money and to use bonds for usually infrastructure or specific purposes. There's also going to be a ballot measure in Alameda County that is about recalls. Our county supervisors, I explained who they were, they proposed this ballot measure to update our county charter. Our county charter is the county's local rules that govern how they operate, how they run elections. And so recall election, which I'll explain in a minute, has some outdated provisions. It hasn't been updated for around a century, 100 years. And our supervisors have identified various parts of it that are illegal, that conflict with state law, and that conflict with our constitutional rights. And so there's a ballot measure that's going to amend and update our laws so that those conflicts are avoided and that they can run proper recalls. This is not voting on any particular recall, it is just changing the actual process and, again, complying with some of the issues that our county figured out. Recalls are important to understand what they are because there are a few that are trying to move forward in Oakland and Alameda County right now. The recalls is basically any candidate who's been elected to office through a public election can be recalled, meaning they're removed from office by another public vote. Recalls, again, may differ based on local rules versus state rules or what type of position that you're in. But ultimately, it means removing an elected official from their elected position. And sometimes they're replaced with candidates who run on the same ballot. Sometimes their replacement is appointed by people who govern in other areas. So the nuances change based on what county you're in, or again, what office is seeking to be recalled. And I'll give y'all one example of a recall that's attempting to move forward right now, and that's against our dear DA Pamela Price, our district attorney who was just elected last November, who had ran in the 2018 election and ran again in 2022 and was successful. She is the first Black woman ever elected district attorney of Alameda County. She has a long career as a civil rights attorney, doing police accountability work, doing employee representation to defend our workers. She's represented victims of violence, including domestic violence, and she herself has been a victim of domestic violence and gone through prosecution. So she has some direct experience with our criminal legal system and is able to see kind of both sides and interests. She is facing a recall, and I have to say the recall, sadly, is based on a lot of disinformation, a lot of blaming, a lot of emotions, not too many facts, right? She's the prosecutor, so her job is to prosecute. There's people who are saying she's not prosecuting a single case. Every single day, she is announcing cases and charges that she's bringing. But she was very clear in both times that she ran that she was running to reform our criminal legal system, especially to address things like racial injustice. That particularly affects Black people, right? We're on the Black Business Roundtable. There's a lot of crimes that Black folks are getting arrested for, charged for, getting heavily sentenced for, that other folks who are not Black and committing the same crimes were not. Those are sentencing disparities, charging disparities. There's a lot of narratives that criminalize our youth, our children, right? Call them criminals when these are school-age folks. These are people who may be messing up, but they're not given any second chance, any education, or any chance to rehabilitate or go to other programs that are called diversion. But white children and other children are given those chances at much higher rates. So our DA was very clear that one of the reasons she was running, one of the things she was going to do in office was to eradicate those disparities, was to upend them, was to stop them from going forward as regular everyday practices in this county office. She has been keeping her promises. She's been releasing statements. She's been attending community forums and responding to people's questions. And part of that change up from the status quo is why she's being attacked. All right, so I want people to look very carefully at the facts and really vet their sources, not just Twitter and social media, but sources of people who are criminal justice experts, who are lawyers, who work every day in our court systems, right? Not just your neighbor and someone who has an opinion off of something that they've heard, a rumor, a statement that has no verification. Even some of our media is guilty of engaging in spreading disinformation about this office and criminal justice policy in general. And so I really encourage folks to look directly at the source of data on our crime, what the policies say themselves, to look at the press releases from the district attorney's office about the work that she's doing, and even some of the new initiatives that she's launched, including Human Trafficking Task Force, including Victims Commission that is advising her, things that we've not seen the last administration do. So be aware that we have new administration that is coming in to attempt to tackle things like crime and safety, but they're also facing an uphill battle when they also have to deal with a recall. Part of the recall efforts are similar to those we saw in San Francisco, our neighboring county, where SFDA Chesaboudin was successfully recalled and removed from office, replaced by an appointee from the mayor. The facts there already show that crime has not decreased under their new DA, that drug overdoses and other societal problems have not decreased. Right? People are not feeling much safer. The city is not statistically safer. And so please beware of the reasons why people are recalling elected officials, especially when it comes to criminal justice. I want to close by talking about how to vote. Okay, the election is March 5th, 2024, this year, in like 2 months or less. Ballots will start to be mailed to anyone who's already registered the first week of February, so you can vote by mail. If you don't get a mail ballot or don't trust mail, you can always wait until March 5th to go vote in person at the polls. If you have not voted in several years or never voted, I want you to visit sos.ca.gov. That is the Secretary of State's website where you can check your voter status, update your voter status if you've moved or want to change political parties, or can register to vote for the first time. I see you got a question.
Allyssa, let me chime in. We have returning residents who are coming home from the correctional institution. And you did a magnificent job in registering them and preparing them, going house to house, school to school, church to church. Can you speak a little bit about that, such that we have, as we know, America has denied African American people, since we have been allowed to vote, the chance not to vote because of mass incarceration of people of color. Can you speak a little bit about that so we can reinforce that if you did your time for the crime, you can still vote? Can you talk a little bit about that? Thank you.
Thank you. That's an important point. Got it in my notes. I'm glad you didn't let me forget. But California restored the right for ex-felons to vote back in 2020. People who are currently in jail, behind bars, in our county jails, we talked about county government, already have the right to vote from their jail cell. These are very important rights that we need people to exercise. In many other states, they are not the same. They do not let you vote. You may lose your voting rights permanently in other states when you are convicted of a crime. And as you said, mass incarceration affects Black people most acutely. We are the most overrepresented in prisons and jails and the criminal legal system that includes things like probation and parole and other forms of government surveillance compared to our percentage of the population. All right, so if we are the ones being locked up, having charges put on us, again, being under government supervision, we're also the ones that are having our voting rights stripped away, that don't have the chance to vote for any of these positions I talked about, that don't have the rights to choose who is going to represent us or to help candidates that may help to rectify those racial disparities that I mentioned in our criminal legal system. California has made a lot of progress in restoring those rights. They've not done the best job of educating people But you can register to vote if you are an ex-felon, as long as you are out of prison. It doesn't matter if you're on probation or parole currently, as long as you are not currently in a prison, you are able to vote in California, as long as you are over 18 years of age and a US citizen. Oakland also passed special laws that allow our youth, ages 16 and 17, to vote in school board elections, as well as their undocumented parents. We're still waiting on our local county to implement those really specific laws that can help empower young people to vote. And there's certainly a connection between young folks going into the criminal system or being criminalized at school, as well as criminalizing undocumented folks. So that's important rights that California has, that the city of Oakland has, that we need people to take the steps to again register. You can register online, you can use a paper form, you can have someone else fill it out for you and help and support you. The public defender of our county goes into the county jails to register people who are in jails to again be able to vote from their jail cell. So don't use it as an excuse. Make sure that you are registered and at least eligible to vote. You can decide who you want to vote, how you want to vote, when you want to vote once you get your ballot.
Can you, and I hear this so often, especially from young African Americans, how important is the phrase every vote counts? Because as we know, the last mayor of Oakland won by 678 votes, and we supported her here on this show. So how important is it that don't say my vote doesn't matter. Every vote counts. The reason why Montclair, Piedmont, white areas get cleanup services, good cleanup services, good park services, good police protection services, because the politician, and I want you to remember this, audience, a politician can't keep their job no matter how much money they have unless you vote. And if they win by one vote or 1,000 votes, every vote counts. Can you speak a little bit on that, Allyssa? Oh,
Absolutely.
and real quick, Allyssa,
Yes.
I'm under doctor's orders, so if I keep coming in and out, that's because I can't sit for more than about 10, 15 minutes because my back and legs, I've been having some hip medical. So go
Absolutely.
ahead
Take
and speak
care of
on
yourself.
my leg
Take care
before
of yourself. We need you in the fight. Every vote does count, right? There's voter watch groups. There's publicly available times where you can watch the counting of votes of ballot votes. But if you again don't even register, you don't even have the opportunity. Some people may not feel their votes can sway something as large as a presidential election. You can feel that way. Your vote is still going to be counted. You still get a receipt whenever you vote. You can check to see that the state or the federal government has logged your vote as counted. But it especially is clear at our local elections that every vote can make a huge difference in the outcome of elections. I proved that it doesn't matter if you have money or endorsements or if it was my first time running, that people still voted for me because I registered new people to vote. I got out the vote. I empowered folks that are in low income areas, that are Black, that typically do not vote because they don't feel like there's candidates that represent them. They don't feel passionate about the voting process. But you're absolutely right that higher voter areas, voters that always turn out, that's where candidates go. That's where electeds go. Those are who they talk to more. They feel those people are more engaged, are going to be more responsive, are going to get them elected again. It should not be that way, but that is how politics is played with a lot of traditional elected officials. But your vote does count. I even remind people that in our last school board election, there was a highly contested election in District 4 of Oakland between three candidates, two Black and one a newcomer who had never ran for office before, who was named the winner, but then the registrar had to redo the calculations, and it actually showed that the incumbent from a different district who basically had to change his district because of redistricting, Mike Hutchinson, he ended up winning by around 40 votes, right? 40. If those 40 people had not voted for him, the election outcome would have been entirely different. And you're absolutely right. In California, in pretty much every election, the threshold to win is 50% of the vote plus one. Plus one. Some of y'all could be that plus one. I'll give one other example, that in the city of Antioch, there was a contested election between our current city council member, Tamisha Torres Walker, and a challenger. Tamisha was running for re-election. She won by one vote. By one vote, right? So it does matter, not just to be counted, but can change the entire outcome. Again, these elected seats are for terms of 4 years, sometimes more. And that is a long time to be able to affect change. And so it is people power that wins at the end of the day. And just you voting can help change your whole house to vote, your whole friend network to vote, your whole workplace to vote. If you've never voted or don't believe in voting, sometimes you can be the spark to help get to others who feel that way. I, again, understand it. I know where it comes from, especially with folks who are formerly incarcerated. They've been told that they can't vote for so long that some are afraid to. But I'm here to tell y'all that you can vote, that we need you to vote, and that your vote is going to be critical to some of these upcoming elections in March.
Two things I'm going to take. I want to throw a couple of shots out right now. I have one of the best barbers in the nation. I called him up, and if you saw me yesterday, I was looking like Grizzly Adams. I had a big beard. I mean, I had a fro. I combed my hair with a pick. I called him up. His name is Kamara. The barbershop is located in San Leandro, off of Hesperian, and I believe it's 150th. And let me tell you, if you saw me yesterday, you'd have ran toward the hills because you'd have thought I was a big grizzly bear. So I want to give Kamara a big shout out for taking me in on a couple hours notice, because, audience, let's be clear. In Oakland, California, we are in crisis mode. In Oakland, California, we are in survival mode. I'm going to throw a couple of shots out to Pamela Price, to, Madam DA Pamela Price, to Honorable Carol Fife, who I've been working with for over a decade with jobs, housing. That sister's magnificent. She's running again, and we need to support her. Jennifer Esteen, running for Alameda County Board of Supervisors. The Honorable Kalima Pryforce, who continues to walk with his 6'4", 260-pound black man who is out for social justice and representation. Chef Michenet of Willows and Pine on Fruitvale and MacArthur, some of the best food in town. Chef Michenet has opened up a restaurant, and she needs our support. Chef Mimi, Chad Briscoe. I'm sure I'm missing some other folks. Honorable Kevin Jenkins again. But black politicians are under attack. The DA of Alameda County, first African-American and black woman to be the DA. The money that is supporting to get her out of office is not even from Alameda County. It is from outside of Alameda County, and some of it outside of the state. I humbly ask you, whether you live here in Oakland, Alameda County, state of California, or you're on the East Coast. If you're on the East Coast and you know somebody who lives in Alameda County, call them and tell them to support Pamela Price, who supports social justice for all. And let me just tell you this, and I'll get back. This is an infomercial. Let me tell you this. When I first started this podcast today, I told you I was going to be like Marshawn on the 1 yard line. I'm getting in the end zone. I told you I was gonna be like Muhammad Ali. I was be bouncing around, stick, jab, rope a dope, and I told you I was gonna be like Mike Tyson. Gut shot, bip, 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 boom. So let's be clear here, audience. Doug Blacksher. Oh, I forgot one last shout out. Our esteemed Dr. Ashley Coleman, doctor of psychology, the one that helped me put this show on the map.
Yes.
Dr. Ashley, if you watching, sorry for the late shout out, but you know, she's been giving me little talks here and there because I have to be honest, audience, I've missed you. I've gotten a little depressed being at home, being bedridden, but getting back, understanding that we need each other. We need to inform because we got politicians who are playing tricks on us. They're not politics, they're playing politics.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be naming you. And woo, girl, woo, where my boxing gloves at? They're not here, but girl, I'm getting Marshawn. I got my pads and my helmet on to get in the end zone. I got my gloves on, and I'm not gonna wear the headgear because I can take a headshot. But if you don't get your act together, Oakland and Alameda County and the state of California, we gonna knock you out. To that end, go ahead, Allyssa. Talk to our audience a little bit about one last thing, how services are rendered. And I've heard this from politicians. Oh, well, we're not going to go meet this group because they have a low voter turnout. But we're going to go up in Montclair, the rich, affluent white area. We're going to go to Piedmont area. We're going to go up on Skyline area because they vote. So please reinforce to this audience, if you don't vote, don't complain. Don't complain if your parks are broken down. Don't complain if your streets aren't clean. Don't complain if the police don't come in your neighborhoods and protect you. Don't complain. Do not complain. Thank you. I apologize for the passion, but as you can tell,
Don't apologize.
Girl, I've had some. Okay, I'm gonna take the apology back. I've had 6 months of bed rest, chiropractor, visiting the doctor. I'm fired up. I'm ready to get back in the game. I may not be able to walk and go to the meetings and stuff, but I've been going to the Zoom meeting. I've been going to the kitchen workshop for the recall. But politicians, you don't get your act together. Bip, bip, boom.
That's coming for y'all. Close with just a few remaining points that Doug is right. It is very easy, and California has some of the most liberal voter laws. You can even vote the same day as the election, right? They allow same day voter registration. So even if you're still hesitant or forget, you can go on the day of election, register on site, and get yourself a ballot. Nobody's going to force you to vote for any seats. You don't have to vote for every office. You can skip certain offices if you're not sure or don't like any of the candidates, but still try to do your research. Best is to do it early so you get your ballot guides that'll tell you all the candidates and about all the ballot measures, but those affect your everyday life. They affect crime. They affect public safety. They affect your health. They affect our housing. They affect the resources. And again, they affect kind of the attention that your electeds are going to give. And as I said, that's not necessarily fair. That's not the way I would lead if elected, is to only talk to people who voted for me or who are in high voter areas, because usually the most need is for those that aren't voting, right? They aren't involved. And there's systemic reasons for that. Some people are working. They ain't got time. They're not focused on the politics because they just want to survive. But again, it can help affect some of those survival needs if you take 5 minutes to go and register to vote. You'll get a ballot mailed to your house. You don't even have to leave and go anywhere. You bubble in different people's names or a yes or no under ballot measures. You can have other people drop your ballot off for you. You can put it in a mailbox. There are supposed to be voting centers that are within a certain miles of your home, right? California has tried to make it as easy as possible for you all to vote. So we don't want to hear excuses. We want excellence over excuses. The more that we turn out to vote, the more powerful our voice is, the more influence we have, the more people we can elect who share our values, who understand our needs, and who will be accountable then to us because we elected them, right? So this is the current system we have. This is how to build some power in this current political system. And this is also how to change it from the inside out. And so, again, I mentioned a lot of different races. Most of them are county level. The city council, I see some folks put that in the comments. Those races are in November, right? Because Oakland uses ranked choice voting. We have consolidated, so you don't have two separate elections where you have to vote once in March and then again in November. All the candidates will be on the November ballot for races at the city level in Oakland and in other cities like Berkeley. So definitely you'll be hearing about those closer to November, but there's still so many other critical positions that touch on the same issues that our communities need, that work with those city level officials that are going to be on your March ballot. And again, voting starts as soon as the first week of February. You can vote up until the day of election. You can register to vote. Take somebody with you, bring a friend, bring someone who just turned 18, bring someone who was just released from prison. It only works if we all make it work. It can't just be those who are consistent voters because that's going to keep the voter base the same. We want to see you at the polls. We want to see your ballots filled out and submitted. If you have questions, we're happy to help answer them through this show and this platform. That is part of why we're here, is to empower our Black community, our residents, our businesses on how to get involved and affect the folks that have control of the money of our elected seats. So thank y'all for listening to Victory's Corner. I'm again so glad to be back and to be joining y'all in 2024. It's going to be a big year, and it's a big year for Black folks to turn out the vote and to turn up democracy.
On that note, I had said we were going to do 15 minutes, but Allyssa Victory, you have Allyssa Victory and Victory for Oakland. You have so much information in that legal Esquire mind of yours that we want you to come back as often as you can, because we have a city that's under siege.
Yes.
We have a city that doesn't have a police chief. We have a city that the criminals are shooting the police now and killing them. We have a city that when you fly into the Oakland International Airport, your chances of getting your vehicle broken into and your luggage stolen is more likely to happen than you getting a pedicure. This city is having officials. And yes, I am passionate about this because, as I told you, and I mentioned Marshawn Lynch first from the who I'm going to be emulating myself, because he is a Oakland native. Marshawn Lynch, who owns Beast Mode store down on Broadway. But I'm going to be running you over like a Mack truck loaded with 80,000 pounds in the trailer.
That's that Oakland energy. We love our city. We know how great it can be, how great it used to be. As you said, we're not really recognizing our own city right now with a lot of the crisis and turmoil.
Well, I'm telling you, Oakland official, and you can take this as a threat, but I'm telling you, take it as a promise. And you better ask some of the previous people who were candidates who ran and lost because they pissed me off. And I'm pissed off. Muhammad Ali said, don't fight with anger. Fight with your mind. And that's what we're doing now. We're going to fight with our minds, Allyssa. And Allyssa, we're going to thank you very much for informing our audience on how the political process works. We're going to ask you to come back because Dr. Ashley, she's been doing some different things down in LA, but she's going to be coming doing some pop-ups. I want our audience to get a true, genuine feel for how you, my little sister, how you would govern when you come back to be a candidate. Because I remember when Pamela Price ran, they kicked her around like a bald head stepchild the first time. And we were on the same, we worked for Pamela. Oh, I won't say work for her monetarily, but we worked on her campaign. And she came back the second time and she did what? She
She
kicked,
won.
she
She
kicked
beat
their,
out even more candidates the second time.
she kicked their butts. No, no. She kicked their ass. And that's what you're going to do.
Thank you.
And I'm going to
I'm
help you.
happy to be in the fight with you because I know you're ready for it and you're in it for the long term. We in it for our city.
Wait a minute, Allyssa. When Debo's on your team, you win. Okay? Just remember that.
Team victory all the way.
We want to also throw a big shout out to Donnie Glover.
Yes.
Donnie Glover, this is your vision. Donnie Glover, you gave me an opportunity to represent the West Coast. Donnie Glover, I love you like another brother. Donnie Glover of BlackUSA.News. Keep doing what you're doing. You're an Emmy nominated person. And we want to get you the Emmy this time. No nomination. We want you to win for the team because audience, at the end of the day, these big mass white media companies want to portray people who look like Allyssa and me, hanging out on the corner, don't vote, drinking 40s, smoking blunts, and not and rappers. We are, excuse me, Allyssa Victory, what do you do? What's your title?
I'm an attorney, a lawyer.
Thank you. Dr. Ashley, a doctor of psychology. Dr. Glenda Newell, a MD. Robert L. Harris, Esquire. Ex-Mayor Elihu Harris, and many, many others. I may have missed a few today because this was a spur of the moment. And I want to give our producer, Miss X, a great shout out because without her, it wouldn't be us.
Absolutely. Doug, I know we both have to go, right? We've
Yeah,
got to close out because we've gone way over our planned 15
no,
minutes.
over. But
But I'm glad to see you, brother, still in the fight. And I know you're just going to come back stronger. So I know we'll be back soon on the air. Victory's Corner will be back, but we have gone over our airtime.
okay, and you go ahead and take off. I'm going to close us out. I thank you, Allyssa. You have been magnificent today, as you always are. Marshawn Tate, you give him the ball on the 1 yard line, and he's going to get you a touchdown. And he's from Oakland, California, graduated from Tech High School. I believe he went to Cal Berkeley and played with the Seahawks and helped them win championships. Muhammad Ali, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Heavyweight champion boxing man of the world. And Mike Tyson. Boy, you'd have to be a gorilla to go in the ring with him to win because he hit so hard. And that's what we're going to do, audience. And we'll be knocking the ball out of the park. God bless. Stay strong.